Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Haskell in for Zach Blanchard. President Joe Biden made his second trip to Maine this year. However, this one is on a much somber note. Last week, 18 people were killed in shootings in Lewiston. Today, the president and first lady visited the city and placed flowers at a memorial near Schemengees Barn Grill. While they were there, they had a moment of silence for the victims. Then the president traveled to Just-in-Time Recreation. The bowling alley was the other location of the shootings. Here's what he had to say at the podium about the recent tragedy.
No pain's the same, but we know what it's like to lose a piece of our soul, and the depths of loss is so profound. Some of us have been there. 18 precious souls stolen.
Now, it's been a hard week and a half for people in Auburn, Lewiston, and Lisbon, and for people all across Maine. And for many, the trauma of the shootings will linger. That includes scores of first responders, some of whom met with President Joe Biden this afternoon. Here's News Center Maine's Don Kerrigan.
This was the one place during his visit to Lewiston where President Biden made public comments. This is Just-in-Time Recreation, the bowling alley, where the first of those terrible shootings happened Wednesday night of last week. Here, the president met with first responders, police officers, emergency medical technicians, firefighters, nurses, and doctors from local hospitals, all people who dealt literally hands-on with that tragic shooting and the aftermath of it. After the president's comments, the members of that community who were invited to this session left, but we got to speak with two of them, a doctor and a nurse from Central Maine Medical Center, both of whom were on duty on that night, and both said it was a very difficult emergency to deal with, but all said they were very thankful for the president's visit.
That means a lot. President Biden's from a community like this originally, and he's had his own personal tragedies. So I think it was really touching to have him come here and express sympathies and support.
It means a lot, I'm sure, to everyone that was there. For me personally, I'm glad that he was able to come. I hope that the families that were affected and our patients that are still being affected were able to gain some solace out of that.
One of them told us that everyone deals with the stress and trauma of that event in their own personal way. All are doing it now, trying to find a way to get back to normal, but knowing they'll never be able to forget what happened that night. The same for everyone here in the Lewiston-Auburn area and really across the state of Maine. In Lewiston, Don Kerrigan, News Center, Maine.
Now, after his speech at the bowling alley, President Biden then met with the victims' families. This happened at Geiger Elementary School and lasted close to 2 hours. Media was not allowed inside for this portion of the visit, but we were able to talk with Leroy Walker. He's the father of Joseph Walker, the bar manager at Schemengees Barn Grill, who died last week. He talked about why it's important to never forget what happened.
To make sure my son did not die on that floor as a number, whatever number it may have been, but I didn't want that to happen. I wanted the whole world to know that my son loves and loved everybody that he ever touched, and I think I told you that, and that's still how I feel today.
The president then left the school just before 7 and started his journey back home. While President Biden was making his rounds today, there was a crowd to greet him. News Center Maine's Sam Rogers was at the Brunswick airport, where there was a crowd doing more than just seeing the president.
Well, it was just before 2:30 this afternoon when the president, Maine Senator Susan Collins and Angus King and Congresswoman Shelley Pingree departed Air Force One and made their way to Lewiston for a very busy day to pay respects to the 18 Mainers lost, their families, and those 13 victims from last week's mass shooting. Now here in Brunswick, Mainers were trying to just get a glimpse of the president, get a glimpse of Air Force One, taking pictures, and a few folks that we spoke with, regardless of their political beliefs, said they're thankful that President Biden came here to show his support for the people of Lewiston.
You know, especially since things are just so sad and tragic these days. It's nice that that he's coming.
It means a lot to have President Biden visit after the Lewiston shooting. And I wanted to see and say thank you in a way by showing up. It helps the grieving process. But at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to help settle that fear, I think, is legislation.
Air Force One will now depart Maine as the President and the First Lady make their way back to Delaware. In Brunswick, Sam Rogers, News Center, Maine.
In Sam's story, you might have noticed that he did not mention Congressman Jared Golden. Now, that's because he was not at today's visit. Golden says he appreciates President Biden coming to his hometown and will support any help from the LA community. You can read and watch more about today's visit by the president on our free News Center Maine app.